Hey, good morning. Recording the weekly update video here for the game project, which will also involve announcing the title. Or not really announcing, but you'll see it as we go. So, kind of at a high level here this week, I did a bunch of like back-end content tuning and improvements, and also incorporated a lot of the sort of art and music and sound effects in to polish the game. So not a huge change in game mechanics, but some significant changes in the presentation of the game. I also spent a decent amount of time working on some scaling issues with the UI. So I redesigned all the mobiles, and now they work on multiple screen sizes much better. They lay out better. I need to do more testing on that, but I've tested 3 or 4 different resolutions. They scale way better. And in the process, I also updated the design to basically match the game itself, which has evolved from the terrible GIMP art that I did. So I'm going to launch in here, run through the list. I keep saying I'm going to try to do these faster, and I'm going to try way harder this week to do them even faster. So I'm going to run through this and just going to focus on the gameplay updates, and I'll do a few announcements at the end. So if you just want to see the demo, watch this, and then at the end you can listen to the announcements. I'll put a jump time in for those if you want to skip all the gameplay stuff. All right, so let's get in here. Oh, it was already running. All right, so first thing you can see is our working title is now our actual title. I bounced this off a number of people and said, here's the working title, help me come up with a title, and they all said the working title is fantastic, you should go with it. So this is officially ARPG Manager now. Having settled on that, I'll actually be updating the game page on the website. So if you've checked out the website, it's kind of has like a coming soon type thing with a little bit of art. I'm going to put a lot more content on there over the next few weeks. So this is our loading screen, and this will transition very quickly. So you'll hear some music start to play, and it's going to zip right out of it. This will eventually sit on a login. You can check out the credits, etc., etc. But right now it breezes on through because we're just automatically authenticating to whatever account I'm using. But big thing that I'm working on later today and also next week, other than finishing taxes, is the kind of account creation, authentication process for setting up an account on the game, creating your player, and then being able to start. So this is going to turn into basically like a title screen. And it'll get redesigned significantly because I also have somebody working on basically a slightly animated sprite of the space habitat viewed from a distance, which I think will be a nice addition to the screen here. And thanks to our friend Craig for the original sketch concept for that. We sort of turned it into a full-blown concept based on some of his ideas. So good job, Craig. All right, so I'm going to launch in here. So you hear a little bit of the loading screen music, but it's going to zip right through. So we're into the habitat. This part, no real changes. You guys have seen this before if you saw the update last week. But a lot of the dialogues and other things are quite a bit different. So the overlay, slight changes in sizing and other things, it's more or less the same here. But the big thing is that this looks better on a wide range of devices. And on phones in particular, tablets didn't have an issue, but on phones in particular, this and a lot of the other UIs are much more readable. Now, since you guys don't have a playable copy of the game, you can't see that. You'll just have to take my word for it. So first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to hire a new explorer, and they are going to do something new. So they actually spawn in from this side door, and there's a bank of conversation that they have when they get hired, which is basically like their greeting or the pronouncement they make when they show up and join the team. The other thing that you saw here, there's a bit of a transition, which I haven't quite fixed yet, but basically when you hire an explorer now, the server randomly selects a sprite sheet from a bank of different combinations and basically randomly generates your explorer. So the number of variations is like 6, 7, something like that right now. I'll create a ton more at some point when that's important. Right now it's not as important. But there'll be a large combination of skin tone, hairstyle, hair color, and suit style to go with the random name generation. So we have Chen Sheng stapled in here. One issue I have is that these are kind of off to the side here. They flow off screen, so I need to do something about that. But basically they start they start over here. And in fact, if we say, okay, Chen Sheng, you need to go to the shop, which you're going to see an error here because I haven't moved one of the modals there, but that's minor. So we have that little use the door transition thing going on. So they actually move between the scenes. You get more of a transition. There's no timer there, so it's effectively instant right now. But anyway, we had just added a little bit more sort of motion and life to the game. And I had thought about having a kind of a timer where they have to travel to the shop, and there's sort of a wait time where they're out of action, and maybe some intermediate scene. But I thought better of that because I think that from a gameplay perspective, that's just lame. If you want to go to the shop, you just want to go to the shop. So it might make thematic sense, but it wouldn't really add anything to the game. So killed that idea, which I think is a good thing. Anytime you're killing ideas, that's good. So now they have little, I'm going to use this device things, and we have a little minor sound effect that plays when we go into the modals. So we're going to go use the stash. And we have the sound effect that plays when we do these. Some of these I think you've seen previously. But you'll notice that the modals have been restyled here. So on this screen they're very large, but when they scale down to not a full computer screen, to the phone or the tablet, they actually look quite nice. So I went with kind of a retro style here. I changed some of the colors and some of the elements, but it's very similar to if you played like original NES Final Fantasy or something like that. It's kind of inspired by that sort of simple, very readable stuff, calls out really well. The text wraps really well. Nice and simple, totally resolution independent. So I'm pretty happy with this so far. So all of these overlays, I need to do some sizing and spacing and colors and stuff, but for the most part, they're in pretty good shape. So all of the overlays have been redone. We're going to equip some stuff. This will update our quests. You can see the messages have updated style. We'll equip a weapon. We have a little completion. So all of this, I think, looks pretty nice, and the dark color with the light text works really well against the various backgrounds in the game. So I'm pretty happy with that as well. And the whole time here, hopefully it'll come through in the recording, you're hearing the soundtrack play. So we got a looping kind of chill music soundtrack going on in the habitat itself here. The soundtrack for this is done by the DJ Spruik. You guys might know him as Bill Bolden. He streams on Twitch. He has a Kickstarter for an amazing project called Music to Die Alone in Space 2, which makes so much sense for this game. It's like completely accurate. So he was kind enough to create a version of the Music to Die Alone in Space 2 soundtrack for use in this game. So it's not the full soundtrack because we don't need that many tracks. But so we have this nice kind of space-themed EDM music. The habitat music is a little bit more optimistic. We get a little bit more serious when we get in combat, which I'll show you shortly. So we are going to send Chen Sheng, who now has gear, out to fight. And actually, no, we'll do that. We're going to send two different people because I want to ensure that one of them dies pretty quickly. So you can hear a little bit more of the background music here. So this is another looping track for exploration. The exploration scenes aren't done yet, but so now in combat, again, we still don't have the sprites for the enemies in place yet, so we're sort of fighting the air. But you got your attack sound effects, you have your damage text, so this is like kind of a pop-up damage text animation now. The way I'm probably going to do this is actually have the different damage types have a different coloration or maybe even a visual theme if I can figure out how to do that. I'm not very good at graphics, but kind of style it so that the damage text that pops up is actually giving you an indication of what type of damage you're taking as well, which you also get from the combat log. So again, this is our sort of progress quest portion of the game. We have the frame indicator here, and then we have kind of an XP bar. So the XP bar is showing progress towards the next level, and the frame bar is counting down the capacity. And the coloration on this is designed for colorblind friendliness. So it should be all the critical information that you can get from the frame bar. You can get that shading and that information regardless of whether or not you're colorblind, hopefully. So if you are colorblind, especially red-green colorblind, and you watch this, let me know if if you see any issues with it, because that's something that I definitely want to make sure as much as possible that none of the color in the game that provides information is inaccessible to some people. So we're doing our combat thing here, and Qiansheng might survive. I don't know. We'll find out. But we want to kill someone. So we're going to hire a new person here. Oh, we got somebody who looks the same. So let's just, here, you go suicide. The portal is still in the wrong location. I fixed everything else, but the portal is tricky because I have to recreate the original graphic, and I've been lazy. All right, we got a new person here. This is Ray Strauss. Welcome to the team, Ray Strauss. So you see they say different things when they come in. Now we want Ray Strauss to die, and we're going to watch him die. So we're not going to put any of his equipment on. And we have a nice little death animation, plus a soundtrack change and an overlay. So it might take him a second here to get killed, but I'll be quiet so you can hear this. There we go. So he takes a hit, he does his death animation, we get our nice little rip overlay here, and the music does a fade transition between the standard exploration to the Oblivion track, which is also what floats on the title screen. So this is the one to me that really symbolizes this sort of void of space here. So there you go. So that's changes to the sprite sheet, the generation. Let's see. Oh, did Qiansheng die? No, Qiansheng's still rocking it. So one thing I need to add here is some indication of available power cell charges, etc., which will probably go up here. I need to do some spacing changes, but we're also going to track the power cell, so you have a good sense of if they're about to kick it. Oh. So the monsters are still overtuned, or the gear is undertuned. I think the weapon damage is a bit too low. But anyway, so there's our combat. So we have we've hired 5 explorers. We've killed 3 of them. This is something up with this stat. I don't know. It's not tracking appropriately. Anyway, so there you go. And then on the background side, on the content side, I created the first 10 levels of the pistol item type, which pistol is the ranged weapon category, which is focused more on crit chance and not crit damage. So there's basically melee and ranged weapons. There are also some tools which have a no particular scaling. They're more starter items or like weird uniques. But the melee weapons scale off of strength damage. The ranged weapons, they don't scale off of the strength damage, but they have some crit benefits from your cunning stat. And each of the weapon classes basically has something that's focused on the likelihood of a crit, the damage of the crit, or sort of a hybrid between the two. So there are a couple different sort of build paths you can take depending on which stats you want to focus and what your explorer looks like and what gear you find and so on. So the pistols are done. I need to do rifles and sabers, which are the one-handed swords. But, those aren't hypercritical at this point as well. So there you go, big stuff. Loading screen with the intro soundtrack, that's going to get beefed up. We have the Habitat and Shop soundtrack. We have the Exploration soundtrack. Got the scene transitions, the sprite sheet randomization, the overhaul of all of the UI elements and the scaling changes, and then some of the animations and sound effects in combat and in the general items in the game. So bunch of stuff, pretty productive week, I think. And then, so the kind of transition here, I'll fire this off and we'll go to sort of announcements or updates or other stuff. So I need to spend a bit of time before I hit the federal deadline here, which is looming, to finish up the taxes, which would be good. Hopefully we'll get a nice tax return, which I will just reinvest right back into this project. The other thing that's going on is I'm currently running it's not really a contest, but I have something running on the Facebook page where I'm asking people to come up with their best higher line, shop line, or general conversation line or 2-person dialogue and post it as a comment on the post. I'm going to take a look at those and pick the best ones. I'm actually going to put them into the conversation generator in the game. So come up with your witty, snarky, humorous, philosophical, insightful, whatever things that the explorers would say on their little space habitat adventure. So check that post out on the Facebook page. I pinned it to the top, so it should be easy to find. We'll insert that. Next week, going to work on the accounts and authentication piece, which is not critical for the beta. I could just create accounts for people and give them specific builds. But I think that that'll make it a little bit more accessible. And it might mean also, too, that outside of the beta, if one of you particularly wants to try it out or whatever, it's much easier for me to give you a build that you can operate where I don't have to set everything up for you. So we're gonna work on that next week. We're gonna do a bit more of the content work as well, and then depending on when some of the art and additional sound effects and other things come in, those will get incorporated as well. So that's kind of the game plan. Other than the content changes and sort of general improvements and running the balance simulations, other things we need to do for the beta, which aren't really game mechanics but are more polish or tuning or balance, etc. We have the account management and authentication system is kind of the big change. And then the other thing that hopefully I will have time to incorporate before the closed beta, but no guarantee, is I'd like to put a daily quest system in. So basically every 24 hours you get assigned a new quest up to a limit. You've probably seen this in a lot of games. And they're simple tasks to complete, like explore X numbers of portals or craft certain numbers of items, spend X amount on the shop or sell to the shop or whatever. I need to do some design work on those. But they'll give you an incentive to, come back, participate in the game content, and they'll reward you with some experience, which will help your player level up, which, helps your general progression in the game. So that's kind of the plan at this point. Hopefully I managed to keep this a little bit shorter. But as always, if you have any questions or comments or feedback, you can leave them on the comments on YouTube for this video. You can post them anywhere on the Facebook page, or tons of ways to get in touch with me on Twitter, through contact on the website, etc. So I'd love to hear from you. Criticism's great, suggestions, feedback, stuff you like or don't like, all of that is fantastic. And as always, it helps if you upvote, share, comment, anything, not frivolously, but just if you see something you're interested in, you like a screenshot or something is along your lines, do that. That helps me spread the word. And it's also good feedback for me too, because based on reactions to content, I can tell what's positive and what people are not interested in or don't care about. So that helps influence the direction of the game as well. So there you go. Look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for all your support so far. You guys are great. Peace.